So, Mika, and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at Vergil's third Ecloga, this time lines 16 through 20. But first, last time in Vergil's Ecloga. Here is our rubric, everything we look for as we go through the text. Let's get started. Quid domini faciant, audent cum talia fures, non ego te vidi, damnos pessime caprum excipere insidiis, multum latrante licisca, et cum clamarem, quo nunc se proporipit ille, titere coge pecus, tu post correcta latebas. I know, makes so much sense. Well, as we take a look at this, this is Menalcas responding to Demoitos, and we've got Tityrus showing up again, but we'll get that later. And I think we've already talked about Damnos, but Licisca is going to be a new name for us, but we should get into the first clause, and I should stop overusing that conjunction. Quid, seen that before from quis quid, so we've clearly got a question going on here with, especially since we've got the editor's question mark right there, but they can include both of these in here, which makes sense. What, as an accusative, singular, not masculine, what's wrong with me? Neuter, domini with that I right there, we know we have our subject, don't need to parse that. And then faciant, which with our ant to match the plural of domini. We have an A though there with an I from the turn of phrase that I use, we beat a giant. And I can never remember what other people use, but IA is the subjunctive marker for the third IO and fourth conjugation verbs, which we have right here. So third person, plural, present, active, subjunctive, which fits with the quid question. And then audent in our next clause, which we should translate together with this one to make absolute sense. So this comes from audeo, audere. We've got an eo verb here, and this means to dare, not to be confused with here, which would be audeo with an I. So also third person plural, but this one is indicative. So third plural, present, active, indicative. And with cum talia, talia could be the object of cum if cum were a preposition. But remember that it's talis, adjective, talis, tale. So the IA is actually going to be a nominative or accusative plural neuter, Xing it out of the first assumption, which would have been ablative of the first declension. But that's not actually the case. We have a plural subject, so talia could be the subject, except that we've got fures here. Furis, I think, is the nominative, and genitive singular es going to be our nominative plural masculine acting as subject of audent. So then this must be the accusative plural neuter, standing in substantively for some other word or just an unnecessary other word we don't need to specify, which then tells us that cum is part of a cum clause. With the indicative here, we know that we have a temporal. So we could say when or whenever, depending on which side of the north or south of the United States you were on. I've found out this year. Funky. But anyway, what might masters do whenever thieves dare, and then we would assume a infinitive of to do, and then talia, such undefined things. But we know that Menalcas is referring to the stupid things that Demoitos has done. Again, firing back the insult. And now we move on into a specific example that Menalcas will bring up. Not I, te, with that E right there, is going to be accusative singular. Vidi, our first person of the perfect tense, no need really to parse either of these. But then damnos, which we, as I said, I think we saw on the last page. I didn't even look as I was moving it. With that os is going to be a Greek genitive. So damon with an omega nu for the nominative, and then we go to omicron nu, omicron sigma for the Greek genitive. So genitive, singular, masculine, No, I was completely wrong. We have not seen Damon's name before, hence the correction there, followed by another correction. I looked back at page 1 where we've got Demoitos. I don't know why my brain went, why I looked at that, but no, it is actually spelled Delta Alpha Mu Omicron Nu Omicron Sigma with an acute accent over the alpha right there, and then the nominative form is Demon, like that with the omega nu, as I said. But what does this mean? This comes from the Greek word damazo, and that means to tame, to forge, to subdue, or to kill in some instances. I don't really know which one would be intended for this character, but he might be something like a blacksmith, except that he owns, as we'll see, the caprum here, UM from caper. Capri, yeah, caper, capri, accusative, singular, masculine, the he-goat, that pessime right there with E, vocative, singular, masculine. Excipere. This one is, this is an indirect statement because of Weedy. Sorry, I'll get back to this. Weedy introduces an indirect statement with te as, which I should have parsed, accusative subject, with excipere, the present active infinitive main verb of the indirect statement clause. So I should put IS there, with caprum being the direct object of excipere. So Demoitos has stealing, Damonos is Damon's goat, which then tells us that Damon is also probably a laborer like them, especially with what we have going on in, I think, Demoitos' response after this. I actually bothered looking at something ahead for once. But of these, I don't know, probably not killer, probably tamer or forger is what would be intended by his name. So there's that. We'll come to those other ones in a minute. In cities, to explain in what manner, or what he used to excipere the caprum, we have our is right there for a dative or ablative plural, and this is a feminine word, and it means snares, traps, insidious things, which is what a snare is. So by means of, with instrument of, excipere, to take out. So the idea would definitely be to steal, at least from Menalcas's, though I think Demoitos justifies his action in the next paragraph. And then we have multum, which doesn't make much sense modifying caprum, and you took out, you stole much he-goats. He-goat, singular, no. So instead what we got with multum is this acting almost as an adverb, modifying latrante, lekiska. Lekiska here, I should write down the Greek so you can actually see the proper form of it first. So lu, lambda, upsilon, kappa, iota with an acute, sigma, kappa, omicron, sigma for the nominative singular form. So this is going to be ablative. Since it's a second declension Greek, it looks like Vergil is taking, which is, I think he's done before in, I don't remember if he's done it in the Eclogs, where he's taken an A as the accusative singular of a second declension Greek noun. But I think he does do it in the Aeneid a few times. But anyway, this is not accusative. Instead, this is ablative. What's wrong with me? And it has to be ablative because latrante, so this comes from latro, to bark, with latro, latrare, nt for our participial addition to the stem, and then e as the ablative ending, taking also that alpha, that a, as an ablative. So he's changed lukiskos into a first declension or a mixed declension Latin noun. Should write all that down, but present. There's our translation so far, but I should probably explain this and then give you the meaning of what Lakiska is. And note that I've put masculine or feminine, the common right there, masculine or feminine here, because I'm not really sure if this is a male dog or a female dog. There's not an indication from the participle naturally. Multum doesn't tell us because it's wrong case to be modifying Lakiska. The Greek word is masculine here, but it generically refers to a wolf-dog mix, so it's a mongrel. So as a female dog, wouldn't be surprising at all for Daimon to have that type of dog as a female with his flock. But what we've got going on here is you've got Demoitos is stealing Damnos's billy goat, and a valuable creature since the billy goat can father a bunch of kids. And the dog is barking at him a lot by what that says. So it's a little surprising that Demoitos would have gotten away with that. Did we not in the future find out how he got away with it or why he got away with it? So I'm going to parse this and write all that down in a bit. Oh, and write all that down. Sorry, I said I'd parse this, then I didn't. Et cum clamarem, we've got the infinitive off of clamo with an im, so we know this is going to be a first person singular present, except not present because the infinitive part right there, but it's present stem, imperfect tense, active, and subjunctive with a cum, and this would be circumstantial versus our temporal clause here, which had the indicative. So, and this one, no, this one would be the whenever. This one would not be whenever. I should clear that with red. That's specifically time, but this one is just circumstantial. Maybe I'm getting this backwards. I need to talk to somebody from Minnesota or wherever it is that they use whenever a lot. So there's that. And then we have him quoting himself, what he's talking about. Quo, this is the directional relative pronoun. This one shows a place to which, so nunc now, if we had ubi, that'd be place where, and I don't remember what the one is, place from which. But anyway, nunc now in our adverb. Say, this one is the reflexive, so it should be pointing back to our subject, but personal pronoun, the third personal pronoun. Going with ile, and this is going to be referring to Demoitos. And our verb proripit, this one means to drag, to snatch. So where, to which place now has Demoitos dragged himself. Not being very nice, but proripit is the present stem. Yeah, because the I we still have in there, third person singular. So then what I think is going on is Menalcas is saying that, and it'll make a little bit more sense when we get to this part of the clause, that Demoitos is a lazy bum and he drags himself away whenever Menalcas needs him to do some work. So instead, Menalcas has to go titere, that E for vocative, singular, masculine, titeris, who we've seen before. Koge, kogo, kogere, this is a third with the E, tells us that this is a second person singular present tense active imperative. With pecus as the object, this is pecus pecudis or pecus pecoris, I think are the two different options. Both of them are neuter, so accusative, singular, neuter as the direct object, just meaning flock. So what Demoitos should have been doing is they should have been available for Menalcas, who appears to be in a higher social order amongst the slaves, should have been the one to collect the flock, but since he's shirking his duty, stealing caprum, or capra, Tityrus is the one that Menalcas has to turn to. So then that might mean that Tityrus is also of a higher social order than Demoitos, but who knows? Should take this first. So two, with that U right there, nominative, singular, as our subject. Post correcta prepositional phrase here, taking the accusative. Correcta. So this would probably be correctum, correcti, because it's not a participle. Latebas can't be a part of that. It is our main verb with BAS in perfect tense second person singular. Carecta is neuter, as I think I just said, plural. I'll parse this one later. This one means rushes, like you would find next, the plant you would find next to a stream. And this is explaining where he has peripit se. Sorry, latebas means to lurk, to conceal, to skulk, which fits exactly with this sentence again because he's not doing what he's supposed to. So there is all of our text. Let's take a look at it in its own context. What may masters do when thieves dare such things? Did I myself not see you, worst one, daemons billygoat, he-goat, steal or take away, with snares while the Kiska was barking a lot? And whenever I might shout, to where now does that one drag himself? Tityrus, collect flock. You were skulking behind rushes. We really should use the word skulk a lot more. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you, and I hope that you have a very good day. And Christmas is not this week. That's in the future. Happy Advent.